Hi, this is an interview with James Baily, the author of The Flip Side. I'm Benji, and
I'm Harry.
Okay, so first things first, when did you want to start writing? Because this is like when you're talking about it with some of the members of the Berkeley Squares team, you're saying, 2-3 years to think through what I want the story to be. So like, when did you know you wanted to write this book?
It's a good question. I think I've always wanted to write a book, and certainly after I finished university, I kind of started writing little notes. But there's various incarnations of this novel. Some of the plot lines which feature were in those early versions. So probably, 6 years ago I probably started writing some of it. But yeah, probably about 3 years ago, I kind of decided on this plot. But even in those 3 years, it's kind of evolved and changed quite a lot. About 3 years.
And then when did the great idea, the hook of the coin come in? Was that a moment of inspiration? When did that happen? How did that happen?
Yeah, so that was kind of what was missing. So I had lots of these ideas, and I kind of needed something to tie it together and bring this kind of theme of chance all together. And I was watching an episode of House of Cards, and there's an episode where Kevin Spacey's character, Francis Underwood, flips a coin to make a choice. And I was watching that and I thought, well, that's an interesting book, be a good gimmick. And I kind of just used that, and that kind of was the bit I needed to kind of tie it all together.
And then when it comes to like how you chose to write things, I believe you went on like a 21 country journey around Europe at some point. So
yes.
Was that a big inspiration for you? Was that like you went on this journey and then you knew you wanted that in your book?
So I kind of, after uni I did the cliched travel around the world trying to find my stuff, which kind of then was, that kind of theme was very much in the book. But I actually went back, so Josh, the main character, just got a little trip around Europe in the book. And I did go back to those countries again as an excuse to travel really, and any excuse.
Can't away. Yeah.
Exactly.
So he goes to Amsterdam.
Yeah, Amsterdam, Munich, and Paris. Yeah.
Paris. Yeah.
Spoiler alert there.
Spoilers. There will be spoilers. And like in that process, what was your favourite character to write? Because one of my favourite parts of it is like Josh's interior monologue. How he's always exposing his thoughts to the reader. Nothing's held back, and it's always funny. It's a really good part of the book.
No, thank you. Yes, I think certainly part of Josh is inspired by my own life, and certainly some of that to me, which made it harder when I got one of the first turn downs from one of the publishers who said they didn't like Josh. That was kind of a double. Yeah, exactly. He rejected the book and he rejected me, which was quite upsetting. But I enjoyed writing Josh. I enjoyed writing quite a lot of the smaller character cameos. There's a scene with someone called Jesus in, which I quite enjoyed writing in Amsterdam.
Jesus takes the wheel.
Exactly. Yeah. So some of these like the more amusing cameo characters I enjoyed writing very most.
And the side characters were really strong as well. Was it part of like your friends in real life being supportive, or was that Josh's friends?
Yeah, again, like some of it is certainly based on my own friendship group. I'm in a pub quiz team, and there are people in it very much like the characters in this.
4Js as well?
Exactly. Yeah. No, weirdly, it's weird. Lots of I've seen some reviews say, this is never true, and like lots of stuff people say isn't true is actually the bit which is based on reality.
Most true.
Like my friends are actually all called names beginning with J, so if that's like I just decide only become friends with people beginning with J, I don't know. Yeah, certainly the friendship group was kind of based on review, but they were great fun to write. And I think any kind of book needs those characters in it to kind of help the main character and to help him grow and to help kind of reflect the journey.
And they absolutely help them throughout the journey. Whether it's sort of support that you need, or whether it's the funny instance with the Jakes and how they talk and sort of get through the quizzes. Another thing that I really enjoyed about the book was how it feels. I know you said that a lot of people said it was sort of natural, but it all flows quite well with the plot itself, and just the journey that he goes on. That first section where he leaves the London Eye and then is on this downward spiral. Like, what was the most fun part of the story for you to write? Like, is there a specific chapter or like a little plot arc which you enjoyed the most?
No, good question. I think it's hard. So once you when you're immersed in writing it, you're like properly in it and set in it for 3 years, and then kind of once you start writing, you kind of forget. Like, I have to remind myself what actually happens. Like, kind of like, and I've worked on book 2, so what happens in book 1. Yeah, again, like that first chapter I worked on a lot. The first chapter is obviously the most important really in terms of as a debut author. That's the one you send to your agent, that's the one you send to publishers, that's the one you need to get noticed. And so then when people pick it up in the shops, they flick through the first few pages. So I certainly worked on that one the most, and that was quite fun to write. And I love the concept, so I think that concept's, obviously put on the back cover and stuff. So
If it was like if it did become like a TV show or a film, which would you rather?
So that's a good question. So we've had some conversations with production companies, and one of them wanted to make it into a TV series, like multiple series. So like the first series would be based on this, and then they'd be a set, kind of spin-offs. And that's a strange one because then you kind of lose in. It becomes someone else's story.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see the take they'd have on that. Obviously, it wouldn't have necessarily a happy ending because they'd need to bring out more drama than this. I think, if you were offering me a deal right now, what would I have? Obviously, I think everyone would love the big movie.
Yeah.
That's what you'd like.
The actors.
All the big actors, you'd like your red carpet premiere. But the way things are going, like with Netflix and Amazon and other streaming services, whether it's a film on Netflix or a TV series on Netflix, to be honest, I'd be happy with anything right now. If it give me a lot of money, then I'm not going to say no.
You're going to take it.
So,
I think that whole experience is very much a filmic experience. Like it all works together really well, the chapters, the writing. I think possibly if it's a TV show, you might lose a bit of that fluidity in your writing. And then you left QH. You'd set up the school newspaper, and then immediately you wanted to become a journalist.
Yeah, so when I was here, I always enjoyed English. Obviously, the fantastic teachers really made it for me. But yes, so I set up a student paper here called the Yard Yeller back then. It's about 50p. And then whilst I was doing that, I also set up like a sports website whilst in the sixth form and was interviewing various sports people. And I moved to London and started basically I blanked my way into the red carpet to all these events and kept getting invited back. So I was interviewing lots of people at film premieres, lots of big stars. So that was really fun. But it's very hard to make money in freelance journalism.
And then did you ever try and join like a bigger newspaper? Was that like your ultimate goal at that time?
Well, I think my ultimate goal, as I said earlier to you, was meeting Dave Beckham. So that was really all I wanted from journalism. As a student, it's great. I was doing my classes on Spanish literature in the day, Don Quixote, and then in the evening I was off interviewing George Clooney and getting free food and free drinks at these events. So it was quite a nice time. And yeah, got to meet Dave Beckham, and that was really. I was happy with that, and
that was it.
That was that was the goal for me. Telling Dave Beckham I loved him and shaking his hands, and that was all I could possibly want.
And you were talking about a 2-book deal. Has the second one been more difficult to write? Is it been like a more difficult process because of the time pressure for you?
Yeah, it's been tricky. I think you'll hear it a lot. I think it's probably like same with music, same film that tricky second album is often cited. You have like your whole life essentially to write your first book, and you have a whole life's worth of anecdotes to shove into it. And then the second book, you've got a time pressure of having to get it done within a year. And this year's obviously been a year like no other. There's been pros and cons of the pandemic. Obviously, there's been no fear of missing out when I've been writing, because there's literally nothing else to do. But I think I'm someone who does draw inspiration from seeing things and going out and seeing funny events happen in real life. And when you're stuck in your flat with only writing to do, it's probably not that great for your creative spirit and imagination. So yeah, I kind of had to write book 2 in about 6 months. So it's quite hard.
It was quite hard to live up to the first book.
Well, that's what they say. Is that I think that's one of the reasons why they want you to churn it out so quickly, because if the first book does well, then you have the pressure of that. If the first book does badly, then you have that on your mind as well. So it's kind of like, I think they want you to get it done before you see any of the the reviews and critiques of the first one.
I mean, so far, the critics' reviews especially have been really strong.
Well, I think yours has been the toughest so far.
Oh, I mean, it's unfortunate. But like, how was that first experience? Because it must be strange putting something out in the public domain and then having to wait before people can sort of give you that feedback. You know,
Yeah,
how much they enjoy.
I wouldn't say it's a lovely experience being reviewed. It's hard. Like when you send it out, I was reading all the reviews for the first few weeks, and it's that you can read 100 lovely ones and people will say yeah, it's great. And then you read one who gives it even 2 stars and makes some comment, and that's the one that sticks with you, which is very hard. So I've kind of now distanced myself from the reviews and try not to read unless someone tags me on Instagram. And then I'm hoping they tag me for the right reason, rather than tagging me, I hated this book, did not finish. I think at the end of the day you have to, obviously you write a book and you think everyone was going to love it and you're proud of it, but I think what's reassuring is you look at reviews for some of the greatest books of all time, and there's plenty of people who go 1 star and did not finish and they didn't understand it, so you can't please everyone. Certainly writing something which is meant to be vaguely amusing, everyone's got a different sense of humour, so it's not going to appeal to everyone.
So did it start out as more of like a romantic book or comedic? Did you always know that you wanted those 2 elements, or was it?
No, I obviously it's been classed as a rom-com. I don't know if I necessarily set out to write a romantic comedy. I think I wanted to write more of a coming-of-age story with humour, and then the romantic kind of plot kind of came as well.
And when it comes to editing, because I can understand it must be really disheartening to have everything planned out, everything's perfect, and you're already confident that you've got everything right. Then you get a sheet with loads of red writing, like how is that experience? And, is it like difficult, or are you more encouraged that it's?
I think it's quite tricky, and I think it's hard. You get back and you're vaguely happy with what you've written, and then you've got 10,000 comments you want to change, and I think you have to kind of leave it for a couple of days and let it settle before it's quite easy to go, oh no, this doesn't, why am I changing that, this is great. Kind of take time to think about it and then go through it all, and trust that nice to obviously knows what she's doing.
Did you always agree with the editor? Was there a lot of times you thought, that's not right?
Yeah, I think you have to be, obviously you've got to take on board what your editor says, they do know, but also I think you have to stay true to what you want to write. It's your name on the book, it's your name that these reviews are going to be saying, oh, James Baily didn't do this well, he did this well, so you've got to be happy. I mean, there's no point really writing a book that I'm not happy with. So it's kind of that balance of taking on what they say and changing it, but also sticking to what you believe, and I think that's true from the whole very first bit, even when it's just said, if you're in a writing group, not just when you're published, but it's really good to take on board different feedback. You like to listen to it, you don't necessarily need to change it, but just hear different opinions. It's really useful.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And looking forward to having copies in the library.
Bye now.
Brilliant. Yeah, I can be the cover of it.